talking about which raids are currently soloable as of World of Warcraft Dragonflight, the initial patch of the game. This video will be for people that are about 370 item level, which is the Mythic 0 item level. It's really easy to hit, but this will be the expected item level going into these raids for how I talk about them. As a quick note, anything prior to Legion, so Classic WoW, or what would it be? Not Classic WoW, whatever. Through base game through Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, Mists of Pandaria, and Warlords of Draenor. Any raids in any of those expansions are very easily soloable. You'll walk in and one-shot them at level 60 plus. Like, it is comical. But what we're really focusing on here is Legion and Battle for Azeroth and Shadowlands. So let's get to it. Alright, starting off with Legion. Legion LFR raids are accessible by Archmage Tamir, located in New Dalaran to the kind of southeast side of the map. This will grant you access to all of the LFR raids wings here. So if you ever need to go into LFR for anything, this is where you go. Alright, so starting off our list of Legion raids is the Emerald Nightmare. It is located here in Valshara in the Broken Isles. This raid is very easily soloable right now on all difficulties by somebody at a decent item level around 350, 360. It's even very easy to do in here. For the Emerald Nightmare, the notable drops include... Shoot, where's it at? I'm trying to find it. Okay. The pet from Yasandra, which is the Dragons of Nightmare. They can drop a pet. It is not shown here, but it is the Nightmare Whelpling. It is a good pet drop, good amount of gold. The other noticeable drop is the shoulders from Heroic and Mythic Xavius, which are the first Satyr Spalders. They are leather shoulders, which a lot of people are highly like for their look. Both of these are fairly rare drops, about 1 in 100. But that is the big thing to go after in the Emerald Nightmare. Alright, next on our list is the Nighthold. This is located in Suramar, right here, kind of towards the bottom left corner. This raid is also very easy to solo. This is going to be a theme at this point with most Legion raids, as they are easy to solo on Mythic if you have some decent gear. Like I'm saying, I've done all these at about 370 item level, and they've all been easily doable. You could probably do them at a bit less. I remember doing most of these back in Shadowlands too. So, noticeable drops from the Nighthold besides the transmog sets. Besides the transmog sets are the mounts from Gul'dan. Gul'dan drops 3 mounts, or 2 mounts I mean. One on Mythic only, and then one on Normal and Heroic and Mythic. Sorry, that's really badly worded. But Normal, Heroic, and Mythic drop the other mount. These are the 2. And I will see you in the next one. To note, I will be skipping over kind of mid-expansion raids, like the Eternal Palace, Trial of Valor, any of those. If the raid following them is soloable, so for example, Trial of Valor and the Nighthold, or like in BFA, Crucible of Storms, the Eternal Palace, and then Nyalotha. If Nyalotha is soloable, those 2 are likely going to be soloable. So to end off Legion, Antorus the Burning Throne is the final raid. So Antorus can drop multiple things. So the Charhounds of Sargeras on any difficulty can drop the Antoran Charhound at about a 1% drop rate. And then Mythic or Agrimar can drop his sword Taishalak on any difficulty that I'm aware of. Argus can drop the blue Scythe of the Unmaker on any difficulty. And then Argus can also drop the red Scythe of the Unmaker and the Shackled Urzel on Mythic only. So there are a few exceptions to this raid, because this raid is actually not as easy to solo as some of the others. It is entirely doable, but there are a few problem points. The main one being is that I can't show you all these fights. I would show you how to do it, but I've killed it this week. But for example, the main issue here in soloing this raid currently is Mythic Aeonar, the Lifebender, or Lifebinder, my bad. Mythic ANR requires a fairly fast class to be able to solo her, because you have to be able to kill the ads at the right time to get a buff, that you have to go up on the ship, do the ship, and then get back out in a certain amount of time. Um, or you would just straight up wipe. This is by far very hard, and the biggest challenge of doing this. If you can do ANR on Mythic, you can do the rest of these bosses. Agrimar and Argus just have a DPS check because they nerfed Agrimar and the Covenant of Shivera. Before, these were also very hard fights, but they have both been nerfed, where if you are doing them solo, they are very easy fights. Argus just has kind of a DPS check to him. At certain gear, you should be fine once you're above like 300 item level. He is entirely doable. But that is it for Legion. So for BFA, the vendor or the NPC to talk to for to be able to go into LFR is right here in the inn in Borealis. I don't know where it is in the Horde zone. I don't play Horde, so this is where he is here. The main thing is talking about what raids are currently doable. I'm not going to fly to them this time. I'm just going to rapid fire through them. So there is an issue. Battle for Azeroth has not yet received the nerfs to its raids that Legion had. So most of Uldir is soloable on all difficulties. The exception to this is Mythic Gahoon. Due to an orb mechanic, he is not yet currently soloable. Battle for Dazara lore is also mostly soloable. They have a very high DPS check on most bosses. The big thing to go for here is the Transmog, because a lot of people like the bone-themed armor set, and the Glacial Tidestorm mount from Mythic Jaina. This raid is also a very massive DPS check, mainly for the Stormwall blockade. I also don't know if Opulence is quite yet soloable. This raid, just take it as a note that most of these raids currently for BFA are not yet soloable on Mythic. They are doable on Normal and Heroic. They are a bit tough to do on Normal and Heroic that I know of. I've done most of them on Normal, but I've not tried Heroic. And they are all very easy to do on LFR with this gear. I've done all of them on LFR. So, the final one, we're skipping over Crucible and Eternal Palace. They are both doable, just very hard to do. Wouldn't recommend it quite yet. And Mythic, of course, is absolutely just crazy on these three, the last three. Nyalotha is where this really stands out, and is going to be the raid that obviously has to receive the most amount of nerfs to be soloable. On Mythic, these bosses, just starting off with Rathian, have nearly 20 million HP, which is comparable to some Shadowlands raid bosses. This is why this raid was not done even in Shadowlands to farm for the Transmog and the Mount, the Nyalotha Allseer, which drops from N'Zoth. And to this day, most will not even kill in Transmog groups kill N'Zoth on Mythic, because it requires a group to know what they are doing. The main reason to this is all of these bosses are soloable in LFR normal. All of them but N'Zoth are soloable on Heroic, and then I wouldn't even try Mythic. They are likely, most of them are likely doable, but I wouldn't recommend it. Carapace and N'Zoth are likely both unkillable. I know for sure N'Zoth is unsoloable on Heroic and Mythic, though. The big reason for this is on N'Zoth, there is on Heroic and Mythic, you only get one use of your trinket. On Heroic, it still restores you to full sanity, and on Mythic, it does not restore you to full sanity. So, and one use of the trinket alone is not enough for you to kill this boss solo. Anyways, that is all of BFA in a quick little run through. We're going to go into Shadowlands real quick just to answer if any of the bosses here are soloable. As of now, some of Castle Nathria is soloable on normal and LFR. Most of Nathria is. It is very difficult to do, but it is actually easier than doing Mythic Nyalotha. Surprising. But yeah, most of LFR is doable for this fight, and I'm pretty sure you could probably do a few bosses in Sanctum, as some Sanctum bosses were soloed back in Shadowlands. Sepulchre is currently undoable, you will need a group for it. Anyways, I hope this helped anyone out trying to mount or transmog farm on what is currently possible to do in Dragonflight. This is the first patch of Dragonflight. The raid launches next week, so our gear level will go up a considerable amount, and more will likely be doable at that point. But as of now, this is what is doable for anyone wondering.